Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. Thank you guys for joining us this morning. So, there's a lot going on out there. There's something I'm dying to talk about, but I don't want to talk about it because it'll most definitely, be a sensitive topic. And, it's just, there's obviously, if you guys seen the news, there's some sad things going on around the world. And, there's a lot of interesting things going on that we're going to touch on as well. But boy, did I have some wild dreams last night. And we've talked about the pineal gland waking up and woke up with kind of what I'm calling a pineal headache, because it's just coming from the center. I mean, like right in the center of my head. But man, I had dreams last night that felt more like visions, honestly. Did anybody else have wild dreams last night or have a wild night? And hello, David, Sharon, Calamity, Scott, Brett. It's good to see you guys. Hello down there in St. Lucia. Matanaya. Tennessee, Candy Apple, good to see you. Andrew, good to see you. It's good to see you doing cartwheels. Sharon says she had a bad night. Good morning, Greg and Tabby. The Big Fish Head. Zeke from Canada. Wingmakers from San Diego. Osboy, good morning. Good morning, Adam. Energy was way off. Headache last 2 days. Hemp World. Normally never have them. Hello from Michigan and Wyoming. Penny and Humble Man. Good to see you, Chris. Good to see you, Sherry. Cherise, East LA. How you feeling over there in LA as well? The energies are interesting, and Cindy told me this morning, she said, did you go check the nuclear radiation, see what it's looking like? And I checked, and it's still elevated, guys. I mean, there's not those level 5 alerts going on, but the numbers are really high. And my dreams last night were pretty wild. It was just a series of earth changes, one after another type events. And, I've had these type of dreams that always, they'll feel like they're a foreshadowing. And I've had that before so many times. All right. Tabby says, me and my son been having dreams too. And problems with the lungs as well. Yeah, and my headache it's dead center. It's not even really a headache. It just kind of comes in waves. The other thing that I experience, and Cindy gets it too, is sometimes it feels like there's this wave of energy, like a vibration that just kind of goes through the whole brain. And I think it's got to do with the pineal gland as well.
It's either that or, like you said, it's implants.
Yeah. Yeah, I swear, it's either an implant or it's the pineal gland. It's one or the other. And good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, you guys. It's super awesome to be here and see you guys. I'm always happy to come online and connect with the family. It's just wonderful because you guys are so sweet. But yeah, we did check the radiation levels this morning, and they are still elevated. And I'm wondering, is it just sort of kind of like that? Is it normal? And if it is normal, why? And should people in these places be taking some precaution? You guys threw out some really good suggestions last time we were online about what to do, with the radiation and taking potassium iodine and stuff, and just, eating seaweed. I don't even know if anything needs to be done. It's just concerning.
Yeah. So, let's take a look. Let's jump here. I was going to hold off for a little bit on this, but, it's like I find it fascinating now. And I'm wondering what's going on, with these numbers. So we see San Jose's at 239 currently. The high reading that we've had there is 265. So, and this is rising. So when you look at that color, that's rising. There's some big numbers out there. You have 205 in San Francisco. 206 in Eureka, 272 in Corvallis. Seattle's 109 and rising. That's very low. So that's another thing that's perplexing. Current 16. That's tiny. That is so low. So, this was one of the things that we had brought up before, and I was thinking about, why would you have such a disparity in these readings where it's 16 here, and over here you have 272 in Corvallis, for instance, and there's other ones that are like that. 405 right now in Spokane. Spokane. Sorry, guys. I just like to play with that sometimes. So 405, that's super high again. And there's a lot of other readings that are very high. You have Denver right now at 412. 412 in Denver. So 474 in Colorado Springs. That's quite a bit of radiation. 457 in Grand Junction, Colorado right now. These are very high numbers. 244 Rapid City, South Dakota. 215. 266 in Bismarck. 262 in Billings. And I know Nebraska had some elevated ones before. Lincoln's at 266, 275 in Kearney, 243 in Des Moines. And over here, I found some, Knoxville, 267. So that's pretty high there. 340 in Charleston, West Virginia. That's pretty high. And look at Rochester, New York, 263, 119 in Syracuse, 326 in Hartford, Connecticut. That seems to be a hot spot, pretty high. 152 Philadelphia, but 312 in Pittsburgh. So very high over there as well. I think I do remember seeing a nuclear facility when I was driving through Pittsburgh at one time. So interesting numbers we're seeing here. 193 Tallahassee. So we still got ongoing high numbers. And we see these two spots, which is El Paso at 344. That's rising. And South Valley, it's at 550. South Valley, New Mexico. So this is that same area as before. And again, pretty much identical number, very high. 553 is the highest that they've gotten there, but Denver at 412, that's super high. 240 in San Antonio, or 152 in San Antonio, and San Angelo 240. 238 in Fort Worth. So we still got these high numbers. Phoenix at 342, that's still high as well. So what do you guys make of that?
I don't know what to make of this. Stack asks if there's a solar flare coming, and I'm not sure, Stack. I don't know. I know that our friend Blue Kool-Aid, he did cover some things about the solar weather. He's really good about that. I really, really enjoy him. And if you're listening, hi, Blue Kool-Aid. So I don't know. It's concerning for sure. And has it always been like this?
Sharon says no flares yet, and she checks daily. So this is what's beautiful, especially I think I'd like to get together at this time often, because for us it's good,
Yeah.
And on the East Coast it's basically around noon, so a lot of people's lunch break, but again, sharing things. And I told you guys I had just a little bit of a feeling definitely a feeling of sadness today. And one of the things I just want to touch on is Mary Greeley, who is another very sweet, wonderful person that's doing her best out there just to keep giving info. And many of you guys are probably subscribed to her as well. Well, here you see alert, need help, fight for truth. The demon word again, and but at a higher level, because they shut down her whole ability to do anything with AdSense. So real sad, honestly, it a lot of stuff tugging at my heartstrings today. It really feels very emotional for me today. And, I'm just sad for her because, she's, I think 65 is what she said, and she's on Social Security. And we had talked about it before about, how 45% of people in the U.S. don't make enough money on a monthly basis to just cover their bills without, putting anything away, without paying down credit cards, and it's really sad. This rich poor gap keeps getting bigger. And so she's being hit hard now, and most definitely want to send prayers and love and support to her. She's a really nice person that's done a really good job, and really, I think a lot of people feel like she's probably their mom or grandma. She has that type of vibe. So it's sad, but this is part of what's going on. And when you look at, let me just jump over here. You look at like the numbers, and I know they're not real. They're not even close to real, because she was getting numbers more like this as I was, and as so many other channels were just regularly, and then all of a sudden it drops off a cliff. And, it's not really. Those aren't real. I know they're not real. Yeah, and because you could tell. There's so many ways you could tell. And so, I just want to ask you guys to send your prayers, your love, and energy her way as well. Nice lady again, going through what so many of us are going through. And so I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Yeah, she did say that her rent was due, and she brings in she said this on her YouTube channel. She brings in $700 a month, and her rent is like $500. So she's really, really in dire. She's just freaking out, which is completely understandable.
It is, and like she said, she might have to move in with the kids and stuff. And you know what, that's basically what we're doing right now. And with what's happened with the channel with us. When I came west, I was thinking about buying something, that was really the thing in my mind, but I'm glad I didn't, because we'd be in serious trouble right now if we were, in a spot where we're so far away from, civilization, which was kind of like the plan, to set up a community. But, if we had done it, the numbers that they feed us on the channel have changed so much that we wouldn't have been able to keep it going, so it was a blessing in disguise. And so, basically right now we've just been staying with family, and it's been the biggest blessing, because otherwise we would be in serious trouble right now, having to build up something else. And just like so many days, they're really 10, 12 hours, as I feel strange shaking here. I'm not sure what that is, but might be nothing. They're really like 10 to 12 hours of research and putting together videos. If there's 4 videos out through different venues, that's a good 12 hours worth of work typically. Mary Greeley is the person we were talking about. I see somebody had a question, Mary who? But it just is what it is. But we're going to keep working it. And there are other venues coming up that are getting very viable and strong. So the monopoly on our ability to communicate is being broken down. There are these positive signs at the same time of new choices, new ways of speaking out, new ways of communicating. And, we are starting to put some serious cracks in this matrix, and that's a good thing.
We are, and because I kind of like coming on with you guys in the mornings, because we are all going through similar things. If you listen to the channel, you know that there's a lot of paranormal, physical changes, things happen, and things around the world that most people don't understand. So we're seated a little bit thin as far as who we are, but we do stick together in YouTube. And some of us, you guys can get pretty vulnerable when you talk about your experiences, but in a way that's also what helps us, and it helps pave the way for the other kids up and coming who are very special, and they do have certain needs, and they will need understanding. So I just love connecting with you guys. You guys are really awesome. And I feel so sad for Mary Greeley. I think sending energy to people truly, truly helps. It just seems to work over and over and over. I've had people send me energy and they ask me, hey, did you feel anything last night? Absolutely, I do. I sense it and I feel it. So, hi, Ozboy. Hi, Chris P. Hi, you guys. Hi, Matthew.
Okay. So Osboy was asking how you donate on Patreon. You just basically, come over to Patreon and just basically click on the page, become a Patreon, and it'll go through. And so, that Patreon is basically like support on a monthly basis. So that would be, a pledge of whatever it is that you want to pledge per month. And then it'll just automatically re-up first of the month. Ko-Fi, a lot of people choose to do that as well, and that's just like a one-time. So right here it shows buy a coffee for Evolutionary Energy Arts, and they're at $3 each. So you could just plus it or keep it at one, put whatever number in, and go ahead and support. And so a lot of people do that as well. There's regular people that support different amounts each month and come by and just, buy coffees that way. So these links are on every single video that we put out. And so, you could support that way as well. Because like as people, maybe many people didn't know, and I didn't know either, honestly, because it feels like everything has changed. And in the past, it didn't seem like they took what they take now from the super chats. Because like the other day, they literally took almost 50% or around 50% of the super chat. And then there was a couple of days where there were small amounts in the super chat, like maybe $20 or $30 total. And I didn't see where they gave us any, but that's what they do. Yes. Thank you so much, Sharon. Thank you for your support. It's part of the bigger picture of what's going on. And when I see people like Mary Greeley, who's just so beautiful, it just, it kind of brings tears to your eyes. She's not the only one, though. There's so many, and there's so many that have had their channel taken down. They had to restart. Kninigan, BP, Earthwatch, they come to mind right away. And there's others, too. The same thing, so there are people out there. It's a big endeavor to start up an alternative to YouTube, but there are those out there, and they are growing stronger. And my brother out there, Soul Reviver, who I love, I love all you guys, but just pointing him out because he was saying he always posts. He always posts positive stuff, and he just saying he's not being able to post anything. And like Facebook, I can't tell you how many people have been just shut out of Facebook, just shut totally out. And I had a Facebook business account with Evolutionary, where previously I was in Ohio, and I had a lot of clientele when I was there. I had people coming to see me. I was in the Columbus area. So I had a thriving clientele and business there, and all my recommendations, there was like 1,000 recommendations, and Facebook just they closed my account on me with all my recommendations, and I only had a handful that I had transposed over to my website because that was when I was just starting to do a website. And so, over 1,000 recommendations gone, and boy, they love doing those things. They really do. As Greg says, yeah, they are seeking to silence every source of truth. And that's just part of the bigger picture. Facebook is horrible, in my opinion, with that. And if it wasn't for wanting to keep in contact with people, and it's in some ways the only way to do that right now, I would definitely love to shut it down. Just because we know that they're monitoring everything, they're listening to everything, they're taping everything. It's all part of our social credit scores that are coming. They're already here. We just aren't aware of it. But it's the same situation as China. So I wanted to come over here and take a look at some of these quakes. So we got another one up here on the Maine border. You see 5 kilometers southeast of St. Andrews, Canada. And this is at 5-kilometer depth. And so look at this one over here. We've seen there was one in Westchester the other day. This is 1.6. It's small, sure. 2.4 kilometers deep. That's not deep. And that's curious to me. It's just curious, right? We had looked at some of these. These are almost a little bit, I can see a line coming here. So over here, 1.8, 7 kilometers south-southeast of Louisa, Virginia. And then we sweep on over here. Yeah, now I'm not surprised to see one over here, 1.7, Kingston, Tennessee, 12.4. That might not go with the pattern. This one, 2.1, Aliceville, Alabama, 0.0 kilometers depth. So I gotta wonder if that was some sort of explosion. Crossed my mind as we were talking about the meteor explosion, apparent meteor explosion in Kansas. I think it was yesterday we were talking about that. And apparently there was, reports of a fireball being seen. So I wonder if it's something like that. We've had so many close call asteroids. But then I start thinking about deep underground bases as well, and wondering if they're blasting, clearing away. So, I started to think about the craton, and that's why I was putting this up. And, they're not really on the craton, those quakes that we're seeing over there, or along the edges of the plate boundary. So it's just curious. And then I was checking out CSEM, just wondering if it was a glitch. But here you see that 2.1, 0 kilometers deep. They're showing the same thing. Again, remember when we had that really weird series of quakes over in Florida, right on the Alabama line? So that was really unusual. Now here we see a series of quakes also in the Gulf, quite a few here, the Gulf of California. And Soul Reviver was telling me this morning to keep an eye on China Lake Ridgecrest, because it seems like it might be upticking again as well. I always do. I watch that area every single day. So like these little ones, these are probably something going on with the military, because this is in the base. And then of course, almost all these are on the base too. They come out a little bit. We got 63 over here in this area as well. And there were some bigger ones that got quickly downgraded. So this is 6.6. I know some sources were calling it a 7.2. Dave in the UK hit me as soon as this one came out, because both him and a couple of other people were telling me the exact same things. They were saying look for something around a high 6 or a low 7, that's going to come shortly. And they were right on. You guys, we have like this amazing community going on here. And you know what? A lot of the people in this community, they know more than the so-called experts.
They do. That's why I like getting you guys online and, throwing ideas back and forth, because it's really valuable. I learn a lot from you guys. And just coming in, hi Calvin, hi Brian, hi Justin, hi Swiftbird. I do definitely like to connect. And as far as the earthquakes go, it just seems like since in the last couple of years they're on a super slow, almost unrecognizable uptick. Almost unrecognizable, kind of like a frog in boiling water. There, I remember, I think about a year and a half ago, I was looking at a lot of fours. There was constantly fours. And, then it goes to fives, and now we're looking at sixes. I don't know if something's going on under there, but I do, just in case, I want to be ready. Like, I don't want to be dependent on anything, no medications, nothing like that. I want to be self-sustaining.
So this 2.1, because we have a request, take a look at Hawaii. This is at 1.6 negative kilometers. So, this is above sea level. It could be nothing, or it could be possibly some lava moving underneath the surface, because this happens to be right at the tip of Mauna Loa, which is interesting. But we've seen that before. Okay, here's another one that's negative 0.5 kilometers. So again, above sea level. We've been wondering. We had some reports of some activity before at Kilauea, but nothing was really substantiated. These are all above. There's definitely a lot of volcanic activity increasing, and it's to be expected as well. Now that I don't know, it just hits me like that looks strange, does it not? Now, we saw a line once before, a perfect line going right across, and when I had checked out some of the maps of the deep underground bases that are supposedly there, it did really line up with, as we were talking about, like the transit system that's supposed to be there underneath the country, and where they could travel at high speeds underneath the country. Very curious, very, very curious. See a lot of activity in Nevada right here. And Reno was a place too that had extremely high radiation before. Let's see, there's Vegas. Is that Vegas? Yeah, 171 in Vegas as far as that goes. Here's the Reno, 275, so high, but it was higher yesterday. So, trying to put all these puzzle pieces together and watching everything, it's very curious. Interesting here, CSEM, we don't have anywhere near as many showing in Nevada as we see on USGS, who typically underreports. So it's interesting as well. You got to really look at multiple sources all the time. But as far as the dreams, now the dreams I had last night, I started out with a dream, and I strongly feel I was somewhere over in, I think, the North Carolina coast, and there were people evacuating in droves, and there were trees being cut down, and there were also like trees flying by, and what looked to be water inundating the coastline. So that was in that dream. And then later on, I actually saw water lapping up to people's houses, and actually saw like a shark. There was a guy with his daughter, and they were in water going up to their front porch, and I was yelling at him to pick up his little daughter because there was a shark, and to get out of the water because it was all the way up to his house. Now, I don't usually have those type of dreams, but boy, were they vivid last night. And then, as I said, I woke up with this deep pineal headache, so I kind of feel like I was tapping into something. And then Compton Beach just came through, and I don't know what that meant or anything, but just that's what came through. And I know Compton, there is a Compton in the LA area, and I don't know if it was that or not. But it was, again, dreams of flooding, a lot of dreams of flooding all night long, and people evacuating, and big trucks going by with all sorts of debris, trying to clear debris, and people on roads, in droves, just trying to evacuate an area on foot even. There was lines of cars as well as people on foot. But just sharing the dream, it might be nothing. Maybe it's too much of the earth change news.
I know, it kind of goes with today's thing. I've had a dream where, and I think could be a DNA memory dream, where I think it was like a 300-foot wall of water came down, and we were driving at a stop sign, And it was kind of like a dream within a dream, where I was asking myself, oh my God, is this real? Is this real? And then it hit the car. And then I felt like I was awake, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's real. And then I woke up again. So I really don't like those water dreams. I'm not sure exactly what they mean, but I do believe in DNA memory. And I think a lot of us have dreams in past lives, because that DNA, it still carries information, and it unravels as we get older. And, we could talk about the gene keys, and that's a really good book that I have. It talks about evolution and how our DNA, really, when we're reborn and reborn and reborn, it's just like a whole bunch of little tape recorders inside of our body, and it starts to come undone. And usually, sometimes that comes in the form of dreams.
So, as we were saying, we had the 6.6 in Tonga that was originally reported as 7.2. And of course, downgrading service always in action. And then we see we have a 6.1 in Chile. And, God, you guys are right on, because some of you guys were telling me exact locations. Indonesia, over, around that area, and then also Chile or Peru. And here we see 3D models of Cascadia megathrust events match coastal changes from 1700 earthquake. And this was thought to be like a 9 to 9.2, and it's thought that could happen again. And you guys remember the Netflix movie The Day After Tomorrow? That was kind of put out there that perhaps it was something like this, or perhaps it was something military. We don't really know. They never really clearly elaborate in the movie. But the movie to me was kind of chilling in that it felt just as chaotic as you would expect it to be. Because in the movie too, it's almost like everybody is cut off from everybody all across the country. Flights are canceled, and the West Coast is just a mystery as to what's going on the West Coast. But as we're saying here, there was a new study, and basically this would be one of the biggest ones. Some people say this is going to be more of an event than the big one down in LA if the San Andreas goes. Very interesting. There's a video here that goes through explaining what could happen, and it's definitely one of those really super scary scenarios. And so we watch closely. Especially for the volcanoes in the Pacific Northwest as well. And so they looked at various magnitude 9 rupture scenarios for Cascadia to see how the coastal land level changes under those scenarios. And you can't match the paleoseismic estimates for how the land level changed along the Pacific Northwest coast during the 1700 Cascadia earthquake. This may mean that these scenarios deserve less weight in assessing the overall seismic hazard for Cascadia. And so the researchers gathered data for some other megathrust earthquakes around the world, including the 2010 8.8 in Chile and the 2011 9.0 over in Japan as well. And so one of the features discovered in these and other megathrust events worldwide are distinct patches of strong motion-generating sub-events that occur in the deeper parts of the fault. Let's hope that this doesn't happen in our lifetimes, and hopefully that it doesn't happen until they have the science to a level where they can predict it way ahead of time, have the buildings all where they need to be, and maybe we'll be able to pull people off the coast in time, when something like this does happen, because it's going to happen again unless we, make such advances in science where we could actually somehow figure ways of letting off steam before it happens.
That's a good idea. I know our science and stuff, they've come to a point now where they probably very well could help let off some steam. Unless the elites, they're looking forward to this event to try to, depopulate a little bit, which is really sad, but that's the story we see over and over and over, the reset where they wipe as many out as possible. Well, I don't know that, but if we go back and look at our history, which is incomplete, it does look suspicious. We were not allowed to see everything. I wish we were, because if we could see where we were, then we would know where we're going. But we can't. So the other best thing is to all of us get together and chat about this and just sort of keep an eye on things. The mainstream, they're not going to talk about this. They don't want people to panic, and I don't want people to panic either, but I think it's important to keep an eye on it. What if we had a 3-week notice, or we did see a huge uptick? Mainstream's not going to cover it. And if we could help some people, just anybody, if they had a 3-week head start, oh my gosh, we could save a lot of people here. That would be ideal to me.
Most definitely. And hello, Mark. Good to see you join us as well. It's been a real record-setting year. Last year was as well. So here you see the Arabian Sea witnessed a rare simultaneous formation of 2 tropical cyclones, Cigar on October 24th and Maha on October 30th. The first since 1965. So with them, the 2019 North Indian Ocean cyclone season has generated 28 named storm days by November 4th, breaking the old record of 21, set in 96. All sorts of records have fallen, and there's a lot of record cold, for sure, falling now. Finland's coldest ever autumn temperature has just been smashed, plus snow depth at its highest level in at least 60 years. And as we look at the Arctic ice volume, we see it trending upwards, which you would expect, most definitely. However, it's still lagging behind basically all the way back to 2004. So we're still at the lowest level according to these stats. And again, we don't really know if we could trust it so much. So talking about the trade war with China is finally netting some good at home. All that food that the Chinese are not buying is being bought by the U.S. government and donated to U.S. food banks. Well, I'd be curious to see exactly how much. I hope that's truly the case. So, as it says here, so we got that going for us. So the trade war with China has led to one good outcome. Millions of pounds of fresh farm products that China isn't buying is being bought by the U.S. government and distributed to food banks to feed the hungry. It's part of the Trump administration's multi-billion-dollar bailout plan for farmers. So Paul Patcher, CEO of Long Island Cares, said the New York Food Bank had to install extra shelving to accommodate the incoming food. And this is the very first time that we've benefited from a policy decision made in the White House, he said. So he said there's an addition 2.2 million pounds of food at his warehouse, an amount that would usually take 6 or 7 months to collect. So the donations have led to healthier options. There are fresh apples, and there's fresh oranges and fresh grapes to go around, and wonderful pork products. We don't usually have pulled pork or pork chops or anything like that, so it's been a big shot in the arm for hunger relief programs across the country. So a little silver lining there, perhaps. And we see the U.S. deficit shrinks as petroleum trade prints surplus for the first time in 41 years. And this is a zero hedge. Is the Trump trade war finally working? The U.S. trade balance shrank in September, improving by 6.5%, the biggest shrinkage in deficit since September 2016, because it's just constantly been going up. And so overall exports decreased 0.9% to 206 billion, while imports slid 1.7% to 258.4 billion. Trade with China has tumbled since the tariff war began in earnest in 2018. In the first 9 months of 2019, merchandise imports from China are down 13.5%, and exports to the country have dropped 14.6%. So the trade balance with China improved sequentially for the second month in a row, and has improved the YOY for 9 months in a row. So your year-on-year average. Interesting, but we still see the middle class is pretty much gone, and in fact they're calling it the muddle class now. The net result is the middle class has the signifiers, but not the wealth, power, capital, or agency that once defined the middle class. It used to be the biggest class in terms of numbers, but is it really something of the past? So comedian Jason Manford claimed to have coined the term in June of 2013, muddle class, when you find yourself being working class and middle class at the same time. When we look at it, household indebtedness, as we were talking about, 45% of the people don't have enough income just to keep their heads afloat. And it is causing people to band together, people to come back, people to live in mom and dad's house, or, bring mom and dad in with them, have the kids there. It's causing the extended families again, which, maybe that's a blessing in some ways.
I do think that's a blessing in a lot of ways, because I do like having mom closer. I love having the grandkids closer, kids. And actually, it's more of a tribal type way of being. I know that not everybody can get along under the same roof, but maybe it's time for a change in that way. And yeah, I mean, I guess we can find the blessing in everything. You look on the bright side, and I think families coming back together is not a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, most definitely. There's two ladies that come to mind, that are over on the East Coast, and both of them, really want to have communities, and would love to have more help, to actually help run a community. And there's a lot of thoughts like that, and they're good thoughts, because you have people that could have good healthy physical bodies, have no means, and then you have people that have physical challenges, maybe have means, and again, it's like bringing people together, like-minded people together, is a really beautiful thing. And we'll have to work on making some sort of chat room. I know Discord has been brought up before. Like, that would be a good place to have a chat room where you guys could talk all the time. And, that would be a cool thing to do as well. It's reaching out and helping each other in whatever ways we can, because most definitely the masses are feeling a pinch. And that's why we have all these protests going on across the world, and they are spreading. I think they're going to just keep spreading until there is real change.
Yeah, it's going to be slow, but I see and hear, a lot of people think we're moving into the fourth. And if you look at Hopi prophecy, it is almost like we are kind of winding back into the tribal mentality, which is better. And I think it's probably going to first happen a lot with blood relatives, blood family, but also we have each other online, which is a true blessing. We didn't have this some years ago. I don't want to date myself too much, but when I was younger, we didn't have online, and I felt a lot more secluded. I felt a lot more alone. I felt like I was on an island and completely alone, or I could even be in a room of 100 people and feel 100% alone. And because I have you guys and we kind of have each other, I don't feel that way anymore. So yeah, in a way, I guess we have an online tribe. And then in another way, some of us are moving back in with family, and the kids are moving in, and it really can be a beautiful thing if we just take our challenges and we embrace them and honor them for their experiences and for what they teach us. I think that's a really good way to be. Just gratitude.
Yeah, definitely. And so, we have the rainbow prophecy. It's not just the Hopi. You see here they're talking about the Cree. There's so many Native American legends and that talk about this same thing. We have to return to the old ways where we lived more in harmony with our complete, environment. It's just obvious we need to live in harmony. And we've talked about so many times how the fact is, every single one of us is a cell in the body of something bigger. And this is the as above, so below, as within, so without. And it becomes obvious when we see, the fractal nature of the universe. We see these repeating patterns, how, basically the brain, when you look at it under the microscope, it ends up looking just like the stars. And the stars do resemble a neural network. So it's just the way things are. And we've totally lost, we've lost touch with that. The fact that we're not living in harmony. We're acting as a malignant virus. And I think the majority of people will just follow suit with true leadership, true wisdom, true guidance. Because I think most people really, they have peace in their hearts, and they don't want these never-ending wars. And they don't have any true desire to have conflict in their life. They just want to have a good, peaceful life and get along with each other. But there's those forces that make profit off of war and off of manipulation. And so, unfortunately, that's what happens. And that's what we've had. Now, check out this strange sounds. Many of you guys have seen stuff like this. Please tell me, what the heck are these weird clouds over Florida? Check those out. What do you guys make of those? So I know there's quite a few of our family in Florida, and as we were having a conversation with a good friend that's in Florida yesterday, and looking to leave the area, and honestly, when I was in Florida, I really felt a lot of pressure energetically to get out, even though, in the U.S., Florida and South Carolina, I really kind of felt very at home there in so many ways, and really enjoy the beach and everything. But at the same time, it felt like the intuition was telling me, it's time to go, it's time to go, it's time to go. So and I knew at some point in my life I'd have to come west, because I'd always seen that. And then circumstances made that a reality. But I definitely felt it there. And there's so much going on with all the energy pollution, all the signals in the air. We had the red tide, the green algae, and just so much other stuff going on. All the fish kill. I mean, I told you guys I lived like 300 yards away from the water, and my sinuses would just burn incessantly when, the red tide was at its peak. It was brutal. And I understand that here, where we are now, it doesn't feel like there's anything happening in the world. If we didn't connect on the internet and look at what's happening in the world, everything feels pretty damn normal here, honestly. And you would almost be lulled into a false sense of security that there's really nothing going on. Everything's fine.
Yeah, it does. It makes you really take a step back and look and wonder, oh my gosh, am I in the Matrix? Because we do see a lot of weather happening around us, and there's just nothing happening here. It's so quiet. It makes you wonder if we're in a virtual reality like they talk about. And I don't know, there's so many things point to the fact that we are in a virtual reality, because we can program ourselves. We can reprogram ourselves, which is a godsend. But I didn't know that a few years ago. I'm just now learning about that, how to reprogram the brain. Hi, Earth Egg Concert. You guys are just so wonderful. Yeah, and I'm looking at this screen here, these dots and dashes. It almost looks like a code. Speaking of code, it could be, it looks like it's camouflaged somehow, because it just doesn't look natural. Not at all. Not at all.
So many interesting UFOs in the sky. There's all sorts of drones in the sky. I think there's a lot of top secret military stuff that's being intentionally put out there for people to see. Yeah, is this code, or was this writing? Is this some sort of ancient script? Really interesting to see this. We've definitely seen some unusual things. Over here we see the return of a phoenix. Glowing red bird appears right for Halloween. Sunset sky over Brazil. Check that out. So what's up with that again? Is it like some of the uh, computer technicians in the matrix we live
That is
in? They're sending
They've
us.
done a very good job with that one too. I love it. It's gorgeous. Yeah.
Right? I mean, is it the programmers trying to send those that are awake a signal? That does look like a phoenix, does it not? Kind of cool.
Thank you so much, Dana from Alaska. We appreciate you very, very much. We appreciate all of you guys. But yeah, thank you.
And it's interesting because I never had a desire to go to Alaska, but now I'm feeling it too. I'm feeling, and of course, in the summer, of course, in the summer. But yeah, I really would. I want to explore up through that way, and hopefully everything will stay together so we could do some exploring. And we also had the conversation yesterday with our friend from Florida there that maybe we're to become a little bit more nomadic. And, we see people just getting transplanted. They have no choice. So many people across the globe, millions, have been forced out of their homes. Their homes have been washed away, so many of them. And then we also have places where, the droughts are getting worse. And, with all the money we spend on the war machine, we could most definitely be taking some of this overflow water that's being dumped in some areas and, irrigating deserts. And we could do so much. We could have greenhouses built all across deserts, sunk down into the ground so that you're utilizing the coolness to, make it feasible. We have no reason at all other than pure greed and stupidity and not prioritizing the right things for people to be going hungry. And even with this grand solar minimum that's getting deeper, we still could produce enough food. I have no doubt about that. I really don't. Just think about it. I mean, we've talked about things too, like floating. How about floating greenhouses? Basically, taking some gigantic barges and using hydroponics on barges in mass, where you can move them on the seas to a different location if necessary. I mean, there's so many different things we can do. So Soul Reviver says, no, we should go in the winter up to Alaska. I'm definitely a tropical person by nature. Most definitely. But yeah, there's no reason why we couldn't be totally prepared for almost anything that's coming. Well, maybe I shouldn't say anything. If we do have the sun go nova, that would be a big one. So we see a lobster boat catches a deer 5 miles from shore in Maine. That's a surprising catch. What was this deer doing swimming 5 miles off of the coast? That's way out there. 5 miles off the coast.
I say he was teleported. That's my guess.
Yeah, maybe a UFO picked him up, did some experiments, and didn't bother to put him back on land. Yeah. It's that's another scratch your head type thing. I don't have an explanation there. And we see an ancient 70-mile long wall found in western Iran, but who built it? And this wall is 10 by 13 as far as the width and the height, and extends for about 71 miles. Very curious, very curious. And, it's interesting, too, to think of the Great Wall of China, because I've heard that, the history we've been giving about that is not accurate as well. And that perhaps it was part of that mysterious empire. And it's part of our whole mud flood history as well. What do you say? Tataria?
Tataria, I think.
Tataria.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I keep doing research on it, but not feeling like I got enough yet to go forward with a video. So this is out of this basically the National UFO Reporting Center. And so we had seen a really unusual cylindrical object in the video that we put up, I think it was day before yesterday. And so it was one of those cigar-shaped objects, and some people equate those with the Draco and the reptilians. Well, here was a whole fleet of them, and this is Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and this happened on October 3rd. At least 5 people witnessed a fleet of cigar-shaped craft that appeared to change their color from bright red to silver. The objects are reported to have been able to move abruptly across the sky. They also appeared to be able to disappear briefly from sight. The objects seemed to the witnesses to move only in a horizontal plane and did not appear to the witnesses to change altitude. One witness comments that other people nearby seemed oblivious to the presence of the objects in the cloudless sky. Oh, that's curious, because that really that sounds a lot like what we saw that other one doing, over the military base. Very, very much so. So I'm curious about that. And I think that they are definitely doing a slow disclosure. I think we're going to see a lot of ships that are completely man-made, but perhaps we'll also see more things that are not man-made as well. And we are. I mean, we're seeing some stuff that feels like it's not even a ship, but perhaps actually beings, or maybe a combination of both. Pretty interesting stuff.
It is. And Terry Charms Life and Beyond says, and when are we going to actually meet these beings? I feel like it's a tease. I do too, Terry. I know that they're there, and I know that they're watching. I think it has something to do with them not being able to interfere in our free will and our human experience, perhaps.
For some of them, yeah. But, for the other ones that have been here, and, the grays, some of the grays, because there's, grays apparently everywhere, and some are alive and some are just little androids. And then, of course, the reptilians, they've been here as well. So, the benevolent ones, as we've said, they'll respect our free will and only kind of perhaps show themselves when asked. But I think it was Stephen Greer. Wasn't it Stephen Greer that said, all you got to do is go out there with the intention, ask it, and you're going to see something.
He has like a 4 or 5 point plan, and we could go back and look on YouTube of how you fall into a meditative state with the intent to make contact with them. Yeah, he does it over and over and over. I guess he's got it down to a science, so that would be fun to do out here.
Most definitely. It would be. And the thing that hit me about the Foo Fighters is just that how many of them are there? How many of them are there? There must be millions. I think there's millions of things in our sky. Maybe there's even billions of things in our sky, but we just haven't been able to notice them. Perhaps, our vibratory rate is raising to such a degree that for some people, but not all, we're seeing a lot of these things, and they're also recognizing our consciousness and coming to some of us. Because as you say here, some people nearby were totally oblivious to the presence of these objects, and perhaps it's because their pineal is not awakened. Too much fluoride, too much processed foods, not doing the work with mantras, meditation, QiGong, things like that. So perhaps that's part of it. Because, again, the reptilian ships are supposed to be, they're one of the classifications of beings that have cigar-shaped UFOs. And it's been said for years that they have cloaking devices, that they could change dimensions, go in and out. So it's interesting, because perhaps a lot of us now are waking up to the point where, hey, we could see what they're doing.
Yeah, we can. I think there's a lot, because out here in the skies, we don't have a lot of light pollution. And if we look up at nighttime, you can absolutely see these orbs move from one spot to the other. And sometimes they turn. And I think in the daytime, they're cloaked in a way. So I think we have millions and millions. I mean, if we can see that many just in this patch of sky here, and, times that across the planet, I just don't like being messed with, and I know that they mess with us, and it's just not nice the way that they do it. A lot of them. I want to think that they do leave us alone, but I know better. They really don't.
So here we see 9 weapons besides guns that could save your life, and this is again if the proverbial shit hits the fan, the grid goes down. We're getting close to being 1 year from when they gave us that big statement that, hey, be ready, for 6 months on your own with no help from us if the grid goes down. So that was really interesting. It's almost 1 year away now. Be curious to see if anything happens next month. Here are 9 weapons that could save your life. So, a knife. And obviously, knives are everywhere. And a knife could be even more deadly than a gun in close quarters, for sure, especially if you know what you're doing. And it's a tool. So, it's something that you want to have in case it does hit the fan. Because you could use it in many different ways. And I have so many different ones, some with like a saw kind of on the backside, that saw blade back. So you can actually go ahead and, chop down branches if we had any trees around here.
We got some in the yard.
Yeah. It's a tool that, can be used for so many different things. Pepper spray, that's a really good option.
Don't spray it in the wind. Be careful.
Exactly. Very cost efficient, and as we said before, I really wouldn't want to kill somebody. I would feel horrible. That would always be a tremendous nightmare. Although, when you're faced in a life or death situation with protecting your family, your loved ones, your children, obviously people are going to defend themselves. But pepper spray is a good option as well. Stun guns, those are out, and some of them are relatively inexpensive. Cane, don't put that. Don't think a cane couldn't be of any use. And again, a little training would go a long way.
I had a stun gun. I did, and those things make the gnarliest noise. So even if you can't hit someone with the thing, the noise is enough to scare them away.
Most definitely. And then we have an umbrella. And of course, there could be hidden weapons inside a cane or even an umbrella. Umbrella could be very effective. And again, it's a tool. A belt. Yes. A belt you could use as a whip. You could also use to try to catch somebody that's thrusting a blade at you, or, something along those lines. They have tactical pens as well. There's all sorts of interesting stuff out there. A scarf. Wait a minute, a scarf? Yeah, that's right. So, you could use it as a makeshift garrote or a strangling weapon as well. And French Foreign Legion carries scarves as part of their equipment and have been known to use them as garrotes on tactical missions. And car keys. You've probably seen that before. You could actually go ahead and put them through each finger and punch with them. Be pretty serious damage. A baseball bat, I see Calamity Rain says, or no, who is that? No, that was Barbara, said baseball bat. So, there's a lot of different things you could use. And just a good old walking stick if you're out there. And, walking stick is probably a good idea if you're out there on long hikes, anywhere, where there might be some wild animals or snakes or anything like that. It's just another good option to do. And so over here we see exercise may help you ward off depression, even if you're genetically prone to it. An extra 35 minutes of exercise a day was tied to a reduced likelihood of experiencing depression. And I always noticed, that if I didn't work out on a regular basis, I would always kind of get a little bit depressed. My mood would go down. It's just simple chemistry, really, because it's just there's these hormones that are produced when we work out, and they lift our spirits. It's amazing what it can do. And so, as I shared with you guys, I kind of gave up on the idea of actually buying a property for myself. So what we did was we got some exercise equipment instead, and we're outfitting quite a good little home gym here. As where we are here will probably be our home base, and we'll kind of travel away from here and do a lot of road trips and go to some of the sacred areas around the country and visit some of you guys too. I mean, we want to do this. This is what we're planning for next year. So next year we're going to be doing a lot of videos from the road, and we're going to go to a lot of really cool places, and we do want to meet you guys out there too, and spend some time. I know Richie from Boston has been doing that, and I like that idea. I think it's really great to get to meet people in person, and to also go explore and share. And so when things are happening in certain areas, head out in that direction. But we've been working out fairly hard, and we're getting ourselves primed to work out at a whole new level, because we're going to have the equipment here to do that. And since there are no gyms within about 100 miles of us or so, it's not really feasible to go to the gym. But yeah, it's going to be really good. And we're going to do a lot more with exercise videos, as well as diet and nutrition videos. As I shared with you guys, I've been into the healthy lifestyle since I was about 11, and just a workout fanatic, and on and off with the martial arts as well since I was that age, and enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be fun. And yeah, that exercise, it sure does help raise the vibration. I'm excited. I didn't think I'd ever meet anybody who would buy me my own gym and put it in the living room. I just love it. I'm super excited about that. We're in decent shape now, but we're going to get in a lot better shape. It's going to be good. It's going to be great.
Yeah, because, I do think it's part of the whole ascension process. We have to take care of mind, body, and spirit. And Mark says it'd be awesome to meet you. It'd be awesome to meet you too, Mark. And there's definitely people, that, I really want to go meet. And I've met a bunch of people from this family, and it's been wonderful. And everybody that pretty much I've met, it's like we're still really good friends and sticking together. And, like Earth Aid Concert came by and visited me in the North Carolina mountains, Soul Reviver. We went and spent some days with him, and that was awesome. And, yes, Stephanie Allen's going to give us both sound treatments. We're definitely going to be heading your way and
Awesome,
spend some time with you, Steph.
Can't wait to see you. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Really looking forward to that. And also, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm a complete health fanatic and exercise junkie. And so I just love working out. And one of the things that I've used a lot are the exercise bands. And so I want to do some videos on that, because we'll take those bands with us. And I actually have like six sets of bands. So, you could do heavy workouts with them, really surprisingly heavy and pretty effective as well. Much love to you, Terry, as well.
They are very effective, and they're nice, and those are compact, so we can bring those with us anywhere. Because if I go like 3 days without exercising, I'll totally take my attitude will drop. My whole outlook on life is just yucky. So I remember when I hurt my shoulder and I hurt my knee, those times I had to take a lot of time and not exercise. And that was probably the crappiest time of my life. But now is like the best time of my life, because we do it almost every day.
Yeah. And so yesterday I only got one video up. It was because it was a day where we had to go into town and do our chores and do some food shopping. So, that was a once in 11 day thing. But that's why we didn't get much up, because it was kind of like an all day affair. So that's one of the downsides in being, hours away from civilization, and so you have to plan and, stick to your plan. So what size is best for a vegetable garden? And, as Cindy was saying to me, we could garden, 365 days of the year here. It's just a matter of if you did have a, a greenhouse, right? And some greenhouses are pretty inexpensive. I've seen one as cheap as $150 where they got massive amounts of food out of it. Massive. So there's all sorts of ways to garden.
Yeah, we can. Here we probably need some wind blockers, and in the wintertime it does get a little chilly. So we'd want to take the chill off of them, but we should be able to garden year round here. I don't see why not. I've seen other people do it with a nice greenhouse.
Yes, most definitely. And maybe we'll do a show and we'll have David Lewis come on because he's got one of the greenest thumbs I know of. And he's amazing what he has done with very little space. And this is out of insteading.com, which is a really good little site. I really enjoy it. They're nice people that run this website as well. And, this says it all. Are you tired of eating store-bought tomatoes that taste like cardboard, peppers laced with 53 toxic residues, and GMO sweet corn? Well, it's time to start your own garden. And again, if you're doing it with GMO seeds and you're saving seeds, then it's a beautiful thing because, once you got your produce going, you just save your seeds and you're good. And it's an awesome thing to really be pretty self-sufficient. And like David, he was saying, I think he was saying he was probably about 80 or 90% self-sufficient as far as producing in basically a suburban setting with very little yard, enough food for him to live on. That's amazing. And, we have these pictures in our minds so often that, oh gosh, in order to feed my family, I'm going to need, tens of acres. Not really so. I mean, not really so at all. Cindy's aunts are doing hydroponics, and one of her aunts up in Idaho, oh my God, her hydroponic gardens is incredible.
Huge. It's huge. It's like a quarter of an acre, and it's just huge. And she specializes. She loves her lettuce. And those red ones there, they look like flowering ones. Yeah, she's very good at what she does, and I do love my auntie so much, and she's wonderful. Hi, Aunt Jeannie.
Yeah, and so your aunt actually sells. She produces enough where she actually sells a lot, and she makes some of her own stuff too.
She sells to the local restaurants and stuff. Yeah, they'll have and it smells so fresh that it's so alive. It's very much alive.
Which is awesome, and so it's great. And I'll give you guys the links for all these. So we could tailor it, and we could use what we have, use whatever space we have, and raised beds are one way to go. There's so many different things you could do. How about like an A-frame? I mean, I've seen some incredible A-frames that were loaded with all sorts of veggies and herbs. There's so many different things we could do. It's just, it's pretty much limitless what we can do. And it's just a matter of imagination, doing a little research, and we could provide so much food for ourselves in most climates. And, there was a video I shared with you guys of a gentleman, I think he was up in Nebraska. Yeah, he was in Nebraska. He was 85 years old. And so he digs down about 5 or 6 feet and then runs piping down below that, even farther down, that brings up warm air in the winter and cool air in the summer. And so he is getting tremendous citrus in Nebraska that actually tastes way better than what you get from Florida.
In California, they do a lot of citrus there too. I know there's certain things we can do to manipulate the environment, and we can grow just about anything we want out here. I do think I favor hydroponics though, just because of the way they smell so much more alive. And plus, she said you use a lot less water, is what she said, because you cycle it over and over and over, which makes sense to me.
Yeah, it just doesn't disappear in the ground. You're recycling the same water, and it goes through a filter, and so you actually end up using less water. And you actually get a lot more product out of it too, which is amazing and awesome. And it's just, there's so much we could do. It's just so frustrating that, obviously our culture and our leadership don't seem to be, looking out for us perhaps as they should.
No, so we look out for each other and we look out for you guys and vice versa.
And so again, I want to invite anybody that is interested in joining us over on Patreon. There's a link on Patreon and Ko-Fi on every single video. So you could come over and become a Patreon. And then there's some videos that go up on Patreon which don't go up on YouTube. And we could speak a little more freely, well, a lot more freely in some cases, about certain subjects. I could actually say the V word, and and that's a big thing. And also on Ko-Fi as well. So I want to thank you guys for your support over there, and also over on the second channel, Arts, and that's continuing to grow. So thank you guys so much for joining us over there. And over there is going to be a little bit more spiritually orientated. So, we're going to focus on that over there and focus on the earth changes as well as, current events and everything that we've been focusing on over on the main channel. We'll probably do a live from this channel, not too far off. It's getting to be enough people over there where we could go live over there as well. And then over there, we would be basically focusing more on, again, the spiritual side of things, ascension, consciousness, things like that, as far as the live goes, as well as the videos. So I want to ask you guys to come and join us if you feel like it over there as well.
That would be great to see you guys over there. And thanks for coming in. It's been really wonderful to connect with you guys today. Thank you for showing up.
So thank you guys for your support in all ways. We'll keep our eyes open. There's so much going on. There's a lot going on out there right now. And so we'll see you guys shortly. As always, my friends, God bless and namaste.
Namaste, you guys.